Yes. Yes, I am finishing the fence in my backyard this weekend. No, it's true. Yeah, I guess I try not to. Um, no, that's glib, but also it's true, but also not true. A lot of the things that I did talk about, just career-wise, like we talk about this, or even just like at Buckald, we talk about this all the time. Like, where do we need to be as an agency um, in 2 years versus, and then 5 years versus right now? Um, the services that we provide has grown quite a bit, just as a result of changes in the marketplace. Um, so one of the things, like, there's only so much you can kind of predict. Like, everybody wants to kind of like find the next big thing. Like, is it VR? Is it voice control? Whatever. Um, it's tough to kind of like put your money on black and hope that it comes up. So I try not to do that, and I try to kind of just approach it. This is where I think thinking beyond your tools kind of future proofs you a little bit. And if you're not tied to a specific skill or a specific technology, um, then you set yourself up to survive a little bit. Um, yeah, next challenges are one, getting my fence done. It's going to be hot this weekend, so I hope I survive that. Um, but also, yeah, I guess trying to figure out how to be in business 5 years from now. Um, not to keep going on this topic, but it's really interesting. Um, Kind of like the generational shift that we have right now. Like for our parents, it was totally plausible that you could get a job doing a thing and do that thing for 30, 40, 50 years and do the same thing every day. Um, I have no preconceived notion that my current incarnation of my position will be a thing in 10 years. I expect it will not. Um, so, yeah, just trying to set myself up to survive that. That's the next challenge. Anybody else? Yes. Uh, I have to admit I am hugely dependent on Amazon for a lot of my kind of staples. Like I said, my wife and I are remodeling a house, so I buy a lot of stuff from Wayfair. West Elm does a good job. I've recently become exposed to the folks at Lumens here in town. They actually have a really great. That's kind of a shameless plug, but they have a pretty great experience and a great stuff. So yeah, really depends on what I'm trying to get. Yeah. Right. Um, it really is problem solving, and it kind of depends on. Yeah, it depends on the problem that I'm trying to solve, and I just love thinking about and really like solving problems for other people is really helpful for me. Um, I may be a little bit strange in that um, I don't tie a lot of like artistic expression to creativity personally. I know a lot of people do. I think it's fantastic. Um, but for me, I am just as interested in like building a fence. Like, how are we going to do this? Like, what's going to be a cool way to do this? What can we do given our budget and kind of the constraints of the space? Um, as building a brand for a wine, like consumer packaged goods thing, um, as solving a really weird and interesting niche technical problem for like an enterprise company. It's really I'm pretty agnostic to the problems. I love all of it. It's all very interesting. It's just that process of like, here's this huge mess that's unintelligible, and how do I make order out of it, and how do I make something that makes sense to people? That's the most inspiring piece to me, and that's what I really enjoy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, so there is kind of a process. There's a process for that, in that just like as an agency, we do a lot of like user research and studies, and we talk to people. Um, but really, like in my heart of hearts, I know it's just like putting myself in someone's shoes and being like, would I care about this thing? Probably not. So it's really just being a human being and thinking about like humans have a certain number of needs that they need addressed, right? And that's like speaking back to technology, like technology is changing, like e-commerce is changing, like all this stuff is changing, but human nature is more or less staying the same. So just trying to be human about it. And cynicism is maybe the wrong word, but just being honest about like, would I care about this? And really detaching oneself from kind of like the excitement and pressure of a project. Like the client's really excited about it, you're really excited about it, the team's really excited about it. Just having to kind of like step back, zoom out for a minute, and remove yourself and say, is this the right thing? Like, do we care about this? Do we not care about it? That's really what it comes down to. Hmm. This is going to sound super nerdy, but Grid Systems by Joseph Miller Brockman. That was probably that was really foundational. The like old, shouldn't say old, but the school of like Swiss modernism was really foundational to a lot of, even not like now, not as a designer, but like organizing information. Like a lot of that same theory applies. So uh, I'd get schooled on that. Yeah. Anybody else? Um, I take a possibly like maybe too robotic approach to my diagnosis. Um, it's uh, part of, I think, maybe just through my experience, I feel like I'm like as this entity of Ethan. Sorry to get like metaphysical here. Um, it's kind of like Ethan versus his body all the time, right? So it's really from a pretty practical standpoint, like understanding what my body needs to survive and not die, and giving it that. And there's certainly like a lot of emotional baggage that comes along with that. But I think over the years, I've been able to, um, at least when it comes to the problem solving aspect, at the times when I need to like uncouple myself from the emotional aspect of it, um, which is a survival mechanism probably. Yeah. Thank you guys. Awesome. This was great. Thank you.